the way it currently stands, forced labor, slavery takes precedence over rehabilitation and public safety.
Oh, by the way, while the Biden administration gives reparations to everyone but free people, look at the billions he has run over to Ukraine.
We don't have black grocery stores because if you think about it now, just to get in that supply chain, it's almost unheard of.
They don't want the truth to get out. Okay? I don't want to know what my family did or what all these people did and all this stuff like that. Okay? You read that 500-page report.
There's this thing called white superiority and black inferiority. That mindset allows all of the behaviors that we've seen across generations, allows for the construction of these policies and practices and systems and structures that continue to oppress us. This is not a handout. This is a debt that is owed.
You know, Allensworth was like the internet of his time in 1904, 1905.
The total black population in California is about 2.6 million, and then of that, the descendants compose about 2.2 million of that. So California, with a multi-billion-dollar surplus, can absolutely afford to satisfy the international terms for reparations, beginning with compensation.
Any financial obstacle that exists that impedes the success of increasing financial prosperity needs to be dealt with and eliminated.
No matter where we've been, no matter what part of this fight we've been in, we've been harmed, and we've had harm done to us specifically.
When I got to Los Angeles, this was some of the worst segregation I'd ever seen. And remember, I'm telling you, I'm from Mississippi.
Because as you can see, I'm giving you broken history right now, you know? But I had to give it to you guys today. I said, no, I got to show them this because it's so precious and nobody really knows about it.
Black people don't have that kind of luxury. Our historically black communities have been redistricted multiple times.
Now listen, if you can't handle the TR roof, don't tune in.
All right, welcome. This is In the News. Michelle Nichols remembers how Martin Luther King Jr. convinced her not to quit Star Trek. Star Trek icon Michelle Nichols understood the power of fandom firsthand. After all, it was a Trek fan that convinced her to remain with the classic sci-fi show when she tendered for resignation from Starfleet following the freshman year of the original series aired between 1966 and 1967. And not just any fan, pioneering civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. is the reason why Nichols' communications officer, Lieutenant Yehuda, stayed on the bridge of the USS Enterprise throughout the show's 3-season run and the many feature films that followed. The actress, who died on July 30th at age 89, shared that story with Yahoo Entertainment during an appearance at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2018. Quote, "Usually an actor will respond with, 'Don't tell me what to do,'" Nichols recalled at the time. But coming from him, from a true Trekker, you just know what they mean and how deep it goes in their heart, and it hits you in the same place. Ashe, ashe.
Ashe, that's a great article you found there. MLK encouraging her to keep on. It must have been a very toxic working environment for her to want to leave.
Yeah.
And then we have another Ashe, another civil rights icon. Bill Russell dies at 88. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Michael Jordan, more react to death of Boston Celtics icon. So many in the NBA community are paying tribute to the extraordinary life Russell led. Bill Russell, one of the most important and accomplished athletes in history, died on Sunday at the age of 88 with his wife Janine by his side. his family announced. Russell won an NBA record 11 NBA championships, including 8 straight over a 13-year career with the Boston Celtics. The final 2 of which he served as Boston's head coach in addition to playing. There's almost no way to measure the impact Russell had, not just on the sport, but society as a whole during his career, and he continued that impact throughout his life as one of the most socially conscious and active athletes we've ever seen. This is a loss being felt deeply across the world, particularly among current and former Celtics and NBA community at large. Ashe, rest in power. I saw another headline because there's been a lot going on about his civil rights advocacy, that he was being, trailed by the FBI even for his activism.
Yeah, I mean, he was, I'd have to confirm this as well, but allegedly he was being harassed by even some Boston citizens at the time.
Really? Well, I mean, it doesn't sound surprising.
Nope. Al-Qaeda leader Amman al-Zawahiri killed in drone strike, Biden says. Al-Qaeda leader Amman al-Zawahiri was killed over the weekend in a drone strike in a U.S. counterterrorism operation, President Biden announced Monday night. He carved a trail of murder and violence against American citizens, American service members, American diplomats, and American interests, Mr. Biden said in his brief remarks from the White House balcony. Justice has been delivered, and this terrorist leader is no more. The president said al-Zawahiri was killed in Kabul. After recently seeking Zawahiri for years under Presidents Bush, Obama, and Trump, our intelligence community located Zawahiri earlier this year, Mr. Biden said. He moved to downtown Kabul to reunite with members of his immediate family. The U.S. government had multiple independent sources confirming al-Zawahiri's whereabouts at a safe house, a senior administration official told reporters on a call Monday evening. The strike was a result of careful, patient, and persistent work by counterterrorism officials over the course of months and years, officials said. The president said that after he considered clear and convincing evidence of al-Zawahiri's location, he authorized a precision strike that would remove him from the battlefield once and for all. He gave his final approval to go get him one week ago. And this article was written August 2nd, 2022.
All right. And other covert operations. January 6th, text messages wiped from phones of key Trump Pentagon officials. The Defense Department wiped the phones of top departing DOD and Army officials at the end of the Trump administration, deleting any text from key witnesses to events surrounding the January 6, 2021 attack on U.S. Capitol, according to court filings. The acknowledgement that the phones from the Pentagon officials had been wiped was first revealed in a Freedom of Information Act lawsuit American Oversight brought against the Defense Department at the Army. The watchdog group is seeking January 6 records from former Acting Secretary of Defense Chris Miller, former Chief of Staff Kash Patel, and former Secretary of Army Ryan McCarthy, among other prominent Pentagon officials having filed initial FOIA requests just a few days after the Capitol attack. Miller, Patel, and McCarthy have all been viewed as crucial witnesses for understanding government's response to the January 6 Capitol assault and former President Donald Trump's reaction to the breach. All three were involved in the Defense Department's response to sending National Guard troops to the U.S. Capitol as the riot was unfolding. There is no suggestion that the officials themselves erased the records. The government's assertion in the filings that the official text message from that day were not preserved is the latest blow to the efforts to bring transparency to the events of January 6th. It comes as the Department of Homeland Security is also under fire for apparent loss of messages from the Secret Service that day. Okay. So messages are just disappearing. We don't know who's responsible. That about sums it up. Just no accountability, no transparency. And anyways, isn't there usually some kind of record in the cloud? I mean, with erased technologies. I mean, certainly with the advanced technologies, somebody should be able to retrieve those messages, I would think.
I don't know. Hopefully. The cover-up is strong. Ukraine resumes grain shipments amid global food shortages. For the first time since February, Ukraine is again exporting food. A cargo ship left the port city of Odessa this morning after a deal was struck with Russia. Ukraine is one of the world's largest providers of wheat, corn, and sunflower oil. But a Russian blockade and targeting of Ukraine's agricultural infrastructure has jeopardized global food security. That was of August 1st.
All right. Also, we have here Governor Newsome declares monkeypox state of emergency in California. And I like how on yours it has the date. Some of these articles, and I'm noticing it more and more, they're just putting like the day. Like this says Richard Ramos Monday. So we have to assume that that was this past Monday, which was 2 days ago. But I do notice that they are not including the dates in their byline information. All right. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Monday declared a state of emergency in response to the monkeypox outbreak. The declaration will help strengthen California's vaccination efforts and outreach. The governor's press office said the state's response to monkeypox crisis builds on infrastructure developed during the COVID-19 pandemic, including the development of vaccine clinics and targeted outreach. Additionally, emergency medical services personnel will be enabled to administer FDA-approved vaccines. Quote, California is working urgently across all levels of government to slow the spread of monkeypox, leveraging our robust testing, contact tracing, and community partnerships strengthened during the pandemic to ensure that those most at risk are our focus for vaccines, treatment, and outreach, Newsome said. We'll continue to work with the federal government to secure more vaccines, raise awareness about reducing risk, and stand with the LGBTQ community fighting stigmatization. Newsom's press office said California was processing 1,000 tests for monkeypox per week as of July 28th. Additionally, the state has provided more than 25,000 vaccine doses to date, and more allocations expected during the upcoming weeks. Right now, the biggest problem is vaccine supply. The order is now allowing more people to administer the vaccine, but you need vaccines to start with, said California Senator Dr. Richard Pan. The state is currently distributing its limited supply of vaccines to counties primarily based on the number of positive cases they have. Quote, of course, we have to ramp up the production to make it available to people as well, Pan said. Nearly all of California's current positive cases are men who have sex with other men, but experts say anyone can become infected. Quote, if you can get it to the right people that can help interrupt transmission and limit spread, Bloomberg said. And doctors are encouraged by the number of people who are requesting the vaccine. It's a safe vaccine. It's well tolerated, Bloomberg said. I'm pleased that there's a demand that people want protection. So another vaccine on top of the COVID vaccine. I mean, do we have any idea how all these vaccines interact with one another, once entered into the system? It just seems like a lot of inoculation going on.
Nigerian street vendor killed in broad daylight in Italy, sparking national outrage. In Rome, the killing of a Nigerian man in broad daylight on the streets of an Italian seaside town while onlookers watched has sparked outcry and renewed a conversation about racism and crimes against migrants in the country ahead of elections next month. Alika Ogochukwu, 39, was hit with his own crutch and then beaten to death with bare hands while on the ground by the assailant, who also stole his mobile phone, Makarata, police said. Video footage of the attack, which took place in the eastern coastal town of Civitanova March, was captured by a bystander, but nobody was seen physically intervening in one portion of the clip. A woman can be heard shouting, "Stop, stop immediately" in the video, and a man shouts, "You are killing him." The footage was published by Italian media after being shared online. The incident took place at 2 p.m. on Friday in the main central street of Civitanova March, Luconi said. Ogochukwu was found dead at the scene by paramedics, the police statement on Sunday added.
Tragic. I mean, it just sounds like a senseless killing. Did you look at the video that they're referencing at all?
I have not watched the video at all.
Yeah, and it sounds like hit him with his own crutch, so he was even more vulnerable. I mean, this is, like I said, senseless.
Yeah.
Speaking of senseless, Airbnb apologizes after Mississippi slave cabin is listed as luxury getaway. The Airbnb listing in Mississippi seemingly had everything a traveler could ask for in a bed and breakfast accommodation: a suite with exquisite antique furnishings, soft linens, a brand new bathroom, and access to Netflix on a smart TV. But there was something else that the Panther Burn cottage that the luxury listing proudly advertised. The property was an 1830 slave cabin that housed enslaved people at a plantation in Greensville, Mississippi. Airbnb has faced backlash in the days since the TikTok video about the listing from Winton Yates, an entertainment and civil rights attorney in New Orleans, went viral. Quote, "The history of slavery in this country is constantly denied," Yates said in the Friday video. "And now it's being mocked by being turned into a luxurious vacation spot," Yates, who is Black, added. "This is not okay in the least bit." Now Airbnb has apologized and noted Monday that it is removing listings that are known to include former slave quarters in the United States. And the video in question that they're talking about with the TikToker, let's take a closer examination of this.
This is not okay in the least bit. And I know there's going to be somebody that says, "Oh, you're looking for controversy where it doesn't exist." No, this is an 1830s slave cabin that is up on Airbnb as a bed and breakfast. How do I know that this is slave quarters other than just using my eyes and looking at it? Well, they say it in the listing. This particular structure, the Panther Burn cabin, is an 1830s slave cabin from the Panther Burn plantation. How is this okay in somebody's mind to rent this out, a place where human beings were kept as slaves? Rent this out as a bed and breakfast. Here it is. That's it right there. The slave quarters next to the big house. It's in Greenville, Mississippi. That's the host, Brad, the super host. But what really kills me is the reviews. Memorable, highly recommend watching the sunset. We stayed in the sharecropper cabin and ate in the main house. Enjoyed everything about our stay, the cottage, the history, the tour, the breakfast, and all was great. We stayed in the cabin and it was historic but elegant. A slave cabin is elegant. What a delightful place to step into history, Southern hospitality, and stay a night or two. Cool spot, way better than a hotel. Maybe you're thinking, okay, maybe this will give people insight on how enslaved people had to live, their living conditions. No, not at all. Clawfoot tub, running water, tile, nice lighting fixtures, water, towels, dresser. The history of slavery in this country is constantly denied, and now it's being mocked by being turned into a luxurious vacation spot.
Man, that's terrible. Dang.
I mean,
nah, they wouldn't be doing that if they lived like our ancestors did, right? So,
right. I mean, and do they have glamping, concentration campsites where people can go and do a whole,
yeah.
They don't have that for other groups.
No, they also need to come up on whoever's hosting that's gonna come up off some reparations too.
Definitely. Why do they even have that? Still have that slave cabin?
I don't know, but they need to come up off. They need to give some of them earnings to some black folk locally there. So that's all I know.
Definitely, but the only silver lining I see is that because of the backlash, and that's why we have to keep speaking out about these. It looks like they're going to be making some adjustments in removing those listings as Airbnbs.
Yeah, shout out to the brother who did that video, man. Shout out to him. That's grassroots media doing its thing, doing its justice. All right, so excavation of graves begins at site of a colonial black church. Archaeologists in Virginia began excavating 3 suspected graves at the original site of one of the nation's oldest black churches on Monday, commencing a months-long effort to learn who was buried there and how they lived. The First Baptist Church was formed in 1776 by free and enslaved black people in Williamsburg, the colonial capital of Virginia. Members initially met secretly in fields and under trees in defiance of laws that prevented African Americans from congregating. A total of 41 apparent burial plots have been identified. Most are 4 to 6 feet long and up to 2 feet wide. The soil is discolored in places where holes were likely dug and filled back in. Only one grave appears to be marked with an upside-down empty wine bottle. Before excavations began Monday, a private blessing was held.
So again, though, what is the end goal in this? To find out who and how long they've been buried, but why are they? I mean, what's the end game here? I mean, disturbing these sites like that.
Good question. I don't know that. So just reporting.
Well, rest in peace, ancestors. Buried in budget bill, a move to close California State Prison in Susanville. And this is Sacramento Bee reporting on July 1st, 2022. Like I said, it's been buried, very quiet. I was just kind of ran across it and I was like, what's going on? Okay, so buried in the California state budget bill passed by lawmakers and signed by Governor Gavin Newsome this week is a provision to close a prison in Susanville by circumventing state environmental reviews. The legislative maneuver appears aimed at extracting Newsome's administration from a lawsuit the city of Susanville filed last year. The suit claimed the prison closure violated the California Environmental Quality Act and California Penal Code. The legislative maneuver appears aimed at extracting Newsome's administration from a lawsuit. Okay, we went over that. The closure, first announced by Newsome administration in April 2021, was paused in August after Lassen County Supervisor Court Judge granted an injunction. Assembly Bill 200, which designates state public safety spending, exempts the Susanville prison and any state prison or juvenile facility from review under the state environmental law, often referred to as CEQA. It specifies that California correctional centers shall cease operations by June 30 of next year, so June 30, 2023. Prison employees in Susanville who are represented by SEIU Local 1000 have protested the closure, criticizing the state corrections department for using an opaque process to select which of the facilities to close. Many prison employees make $90,000 or more in the remote area near Nevada border.
Well, I guess they can't find any other way to make money instead of imprisoning people.
Right, slave labor still, thriving on the backs of slave labor.
All right, you want me to take this one?
Yeah, go ahead, take that.
Amazon shrinks staff by 100,000, joining Netflix and Google in hiring slowdown. With recession fears mounting and inflation, the war in Ukraine, and the lingering pandemic taking a toll, many tech companies are rethinking their staffing needs, with some of them instituting hiring freezes, rescinding offers, and making rounds of layoffs. Amazon.com Inc. was the latest company to discuss its belt-tightening efforts this week. During its quarterly earnings call Thursday, the e-commerce giant said it's been adding jobs at the slowest rate since 2019. After relying on attrition to win its staff, Amazon now has about 100,000 fewer employees than in the previous quarter. Here's a look at the company's tapping the brakes. Alphabet Inc., Google's parent company, has been decelerating its recruiting efforts. Chief Executive Officer Sundar Pichai told employees this month that although the business added 10,000 Googlers in the second quarter, it will be slowing the pace of hiring for the rest of the year and prioritizing engineering and technical talent. Like all companies, we're not immune to economic headwinds, he said. The hiring pause is part of that slowdown, Google said. To enable teams to prioritize their roles and hiring plans for the rest of the year, it had nearly 164,000 employees at the end of March.
That's quite a staff reduction. HUD Secretary, home appraisals bias take away opportunities to build wealth. Home equity is one way to create generational wealth. However, for Black and Latinx homeowners, home ownership doesn't always render the same result. A recent study by Freddie Mac found that, quote, minority applicants are more likely to receive an appraisal value lower than the contract price, end quote. The biggest thing we do in our society to build wealth is home ownership, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Marsha Fudge told Yahoo Finance Live. If we start to devalue the homes of people of color, then we have taken away the opportunity to build wealth. To address appraisal bias, the Biden administration created an interagency task force, Property Appraisal and Valuation Equity, PAVE, co-led by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and the White House Domestic Policy Council. Although the Fair Housing Act was passed in 1964 to outlaw redlining and discriminatory practices, it didn't explicitly include appraisals. In 1976, the Department of Justice sued the American Institute of Real Estate Appraisers of the National Association of Realtors, the Society of Real Estate Appraisers, the United States League of Savings Association, and the Mortgage Bankers Association of America for engaging in unlawful discriminatory practices, causing appraisers to treat race and national origin as negative factors in determining the value of dwellings in the evaluating the soundness of home loans. Although a settlement required the defendants to adopt a policy that using race and ethnicity as a negative factor was unlawful, it wasn't until 1988 that Congress amended the law to include appraisals under the purview of the Fair Housing Act. Quote, even though the Fair Housing Act pulls some of it out, we're saying across the board, if you discriminate, it is a violation of the law, end quote, Secretary Fudge said. So my hot take on this article here, I mean, is that you just have to mandate everything and put everything into law. These people are just not going to do the right thing on their own. I mean, they saw a loophole from the 1964 Fair Housing Act and said, oh, let's find another way to cheat people out of their wealth building capabilities. And that's what's been happening until 1988. They had to set a new law. Now, I wonder when, you remember that testimony we heard, the California Reparations Task Force, when the gentleman in Marin County, his home was undervalued to the tune of $500,000, which is basically a whole nother house. I wonder, it seems like that happened after 1988, but I would have to check the dates. It seems more current to me, but again, I'll have to check that information.
A black boy from Elk Grove was tackled by officers at State Fair. His family alleges racism. A mother demanded answers Monday after she says her 11-year-old son was chased, tackled, and bloodied by California State Fair officers during the fair's Kids Day. The incident on Tuesday, July 19th, brings up fresh allegations of racism and excessive force from officers. Elk Grove's Cynthia Martin said at a news conference outside the Cal Expo gates Monday her son was horsing around with friends outside of a State Fair roller coaster. That horseplay led fair police to chase down and injure the 11-year-old before questioning him for more than 30 minutes and forcing him to sign a no trespassing agreement without his parents' consent. My child is not the same. He's withdrawn. He's scared, Martin said. Martin's son stood near her side, his head bowed at times and his hands shoved deep into his jeans pockets. The family was accompanied by Tanya Faison of Black Lives Matter Sacramento and civil rights attorney Mark Marin. He's 11 years old. He's a child. What makes him different from any other 11-year-old? I'll tell you, he's black, a black male. Sacramento NAACP President Betty Williams told reporters, it doesn't matter your age when it comes to society and law enforcement. You are treated differently, and he should never have been treated this way. Marin has filed a tort claim precursor to a federal civil lawsuit against California State Fair. He's just a child. They brought him down by choking him. They manhandled him and used force, so immediately there's false arrest, Marin told reporters at Cal Expo. They obviously used excessive force, then they took him out of the view of his mother, which violates her due process. This puts Cal Expo on notice that this is a big issue. Faison is calling for officers' body camera and other security video footage. Williams plans to meet with fair executives. There is nothing that validates grown men doing what they did to him. There's no reason to tackle a child, Faison said. Any level of injury is unacceptable. The incident is the latest involving State Fair law enforcement's interactions with young black and brown fairgoers in recent years.
Not just recent years. I mean, this has been pretty much the trend historically at the state fair. Even, I'm a lifelong Sacramento, growing up going to the fair. I mean, we had a running joke as youth that it seemed like they used to train their horses to kick the black people.
Wow.
But yeah, that seems excessive, unnecessary. Emmett Till's accuser seen publicly for the first time in 20 years. Carolyn Bryant Doham, 88, was photographed in Kentucky and is reportedly in hospice care. Daily Mail US put out a tweet on this on August 1st. White woman 88 who triggered lynching of Emmett Till is seen for the first time in 20 years. Till's reclusive accuser. Just weeks after unserved arrest warrant was found for Emmett Till's accuser, Carolyn Bryant Donham has been found in Kentucky. According to the Daily Mail, Carolyn Bryant Donham is 88 years old and living in Kentucky. A Daily Mail reporter asked her son, Thomas Bryant, 71, if his mother would comment on Till. He reportedly shook his head no, with his mother standing behind him. The outlet claims she is legally blind and receives hospice care in her home. All right, so they found the warrant, and now they found the accused, liar here. So what's the holdup? Why isn't justice being served? I guess we'll have to wait and see. We've already been waiting 67 years for some justice.
It was at 1955, I think. His relative Priscilla Till said.
Yes. So we'll have to look out for updates on the Till family and see, what they have to say about these new developments.
Yep.
And that is in the news.